Is Google making us stupid? Well, that is a question being posed by writer Nicholas Carr. This controversial question and article has sparked a huge debate among psychologists, neurologists, sociologists, and technical professionals, and naturally they all share different views on the issue. Their research and professional opinions can provide support for both sides of the argument, but really only you can determine how much the internet has impacted you mentally and emotionally, or not at all. While there are proven examples that constant connection to the internet can have detrimental effects on people, mentally and emotionally, it's really up to each individual to decide whether the conveniences offered by the internet, like information on any given topic, are a fair trade off for the ability to commit information to long term memory, having a long attention span, emotional health, and even creativity. So, an obvious benefit of the internet is that it provides a vast amount of information at incredible speeds. But have you noticed that on any given site or web page there are numerous blinking ads, moving, and hyperlinks? Well, as eye catching as they are, all these things actually work against your brain as competing messages that prevent you from retaining the original information you were trying to search for. Well, these competing messages, or as I like to call them, distractions, almost force you to quickly skim over information, then jump to another page without ever allowing time to think on the information that you've just read. New York Times technology writer Matthew Richtel found that if we don't take time to unplug and think on the information we've read, that information is never committed to long term memory. Well, and it sounds initially far fetched, but think of how many times you've looked over information on a site, then you've clicked a link and had to go back to the site that you were just on because you couldn't remember a piece of information you needed. Now consider the possibility, if not reality, that your long term memory is almost long gone, and you may not even realize it until now. So, hey, how's your attention span? Well, if you stop paying attention to me, I understand. That ad to the right is really eye catching, and you probably notice a suggested video or two that you're thinking about checking out when this is all done. But okay, back to attention span. In that article, Is Google Making Us Stupid by Nicholas Carr, he says he realizes that he was once an avid reader, and now his attention span is just about gone. He can only read 2 or 3 pages before he is completely distracted. So, there's a study that's found that the use of the internet stimulates brain cell alteration and neurotransmitter release, gradually strengthening new neural pathways in our brains while weakening older ones. Okay, now in English, it's just simply saying that our inability to focus increases with prolonged and constant connection to the internet. And it is literally and physically changing the way our brains work and process information. Now, I know all these things make the internet sound all doom and gloom, but the scariest part is the response that came from Google co-creator Sergey Brin, who was quoted, "Certainly if you had all the world's information directly attached to your brain, or an artificial brain that was smarter than your brain, you would be better off." Now, I would like to think that at this point in the interview, some reporter would stop and mention how possessing the ability to think is a major differentiating factor between man and machine, how thoughts evoke emotions which lead to more thoughts, opinions, conclusions, and even, God forbid, creativity. The reality is that our inability, or more likely our refusal, to at least occasionally separate ourselves from the web brings us closer and closer to artificial intelligence and takes us a step further away from humanity. To some people, the idea of artificial intelligence sounds fascinating and maybe even ideal, and some will think it's more convenient to have a separate hard drive to store all those endless details and allows them to recall only subject topics. Some people prefer blogging casually without having to think about grammar, or some oppose to passionate debates where intellect, fact recollection, and eloquence play a role. Perfect example, my very own literature teacher had to send out an email following initial student postings to the discussion board guidelines about using shorthand and symbols generally used in text messages. She identified it as a bad habit, but this just shows how our brain is changing, sometimes unbeknownst to us. Even in situations where professionalism is required or expected, we revert back to those bad habits. Well, the internet can also have an impact on emotional health of users, such as anxiety or even internet addiction. Tara Parker Pope, a technological writer for the New York Times, found that many internet users are unaware of an addiction until they leave their mobile device at home or it breaks and anxiety from the separation reveals itself. You know that feeling when you have to run out the house and hurry, in a hurry and you forgot your phone, or you're getting out your car and your phone crashes to the concrete because it was on your lap, and you're frantically hoping it still works when you pick it up? Well, others don't realize they have an addiction or how severe their addiction is until more serious or unfortunate events happen, such as a car accident that results from texting while driving. The internet has definitely made life a little bit easier, and with some wisdom and moderation, it can definitely be more helpful than detrimental to its users. We simply need to occasionally put down our devices, enjoy downtime, and the world around us. So, when someone asks you, is Google making you stupid? I hope that your answer is like mine, and that would be no.